So in this video, I'm going to create a custom material, and I'm going to do this for this geometry, which is the seed bucket. All right. So I'm just going to select it, and in the select all icon, I'm going to expand it and go and find the fourth icon called invert selection. And I'm going to hide everything else except that seed bucket. So again, if you go in the properties tab where it says material, you're going to end up with this list here, the use layer material, and I'm going to create what we call a custom material this time. So I'm not going to use one of those presets like I did before. I'm going to unscroll the menu, and I'm going to click on the plus sign to create a new material. So nothing new here. And I'm going to select custom this time. So I click on custom, and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it carbon fiber, for example, like that. And you have at the bottom, underneath the title, the properties that you can adjust and play with for your material. So typically you can colorize any color you wish, but since I'm going to apply a diffuse map or a color map, as you can see here in the texture, it's the same thing. I'm going to assign a JPEG basically to it. All right. I'm going to show the very basics of texture mapping. I'm not going to go in too much details, but basically you've got the different channels here where you can play with the color, the transparency, the bump maps, and the environment map, all based on images. All right. They can be JPEGs or PNG files. Just make sure that your JPEG is an RGB format and not CMYK. CMYK, in the past versions of Rhino, I don't know about the Rhino V7, but CMYK caused some issues. So, just double check, if it doesn't work, maybe it's because your JPEG is CMYK mode and not RGB, all right? Other than that, let's apply the texture right now. So you go in the texture menu where it says color. So that's the color channel. It's also known as diffuse channel. And I'm just going to click on where it says click to assign texture. So I just left click. And I'm going to go and find this texture here. And of course, I'm going to make it available for you guys. And I'm going to click on open. So immediately you can see that because I'm in the rendered mode, you can see the texture. All right. So make sure that you're in the rendered mode as well, and not any other viewing modes. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the texture. So now that I'm in the rendered mode, you can see that the texture has been applied, but the coordinates for these textures are very random. So right next to the material creation, you've got here the texture mapping. So I'm going to click on that. You've got different types of texture mapping. You can do a surface mapping, which is already done here automatically. You've got the planar mapping. So this is applicable for like a TV screen. You want to project an image of, a screenshot of some news channel, and you just apply as a 2D image on a screen, on a flat screen, that you would use the planar mapping. You've got the cube mapping. So for example, in this case, it's a very squarish shape. It's based on a seat. So typically, I like to use box mapping for seat leather and stuff like that. Anything that is squarish looking. You've got the spherical mapping, so you can think of planets and stuff like that. If you texture map like a planet, of course, there's way more than just planets to texture map, but anything that is spherical, you can use this type of texture mapping. And then you've got the cylindrical. So the first thing that comes to my mind, for example, wine bottle labels. All right, you use the texture because it's a very cylindrical shape for the wine bottle, and you want to adjust the label for it. You can try with the cylindrical. All right, these are the basic texture mappings, and you've got also here UV editor, and this is for UVW unwrap. You can also do a UVW unwrap in Rhino, and this is pretty cool also. It's how to align your texture from one surface to another. It's more advanced technique, and I highly recommend for those who want to explore the UV editor. There are tons of videos on YouTube for free that you can see how it works and how to line up your textures using the UVW unwrap. So remember, you've got the box, the spherical, cylindrical, and planar mapping along with the UVW unwrap. All right. Okay, so now because I've got the seat here and it's a very squarish looking geometry, I'm just going to click on box mapping. So apply box mapping, and I left click on it. And you look at the command line, it says first corner of base. So I'm not going to define the size of the box. You can do it definitely if you wish to, but I'm just going to leave it by default as bounding box. All right. You've got also in the options different ways of creating your box, but I'm just going to leave it by default as bounding box. So all you have to do is either press enter or right click. So I'm going to right click, And then it's going to ask you for the coordinate system. By default, it's set at C plane, so construction plane. And I'm going to, again, leave it at a C plane. I'm not going to bother to switch to the world coordinate system. So that's fine. And then you have a little preview when after you right click, and you can see the bounding box that is automatically surrounding my geometry. All right. And the next question that it's asking me is if I want it to be capped or not. So I'm going to say capped equals yes. So yes, I want it to be capped, and immediately you can see that the texture has been applied as a box map to my object. Now we're not done yet, because you can clearly see that the texture is way too big. All right, we need to resize that texture. So select your object and your geometry if it's not done, and again in the texture mapping menu, you've got here show mapping. So make sure that you select your geometry and then you click on show mapping, and you should see in dashed line this box, and it's called a mapping widget in Rhino. All right, it's the same as what we call a gizmo in other 3D software. So I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to left click in the environment and deselect everything, because I want to make sure that I don't select the geometry. I just want to select this time the mapping widget. So do the same as I just did, select the mapping widget. And if you haven't done so, select gumball at the bottom of the screen so that you can see the three coordinate axis of your gumball. All right, the 3 axes of your gumball. So you can pick any one of these axes, and with the widget highlighted, selected, you can see that I can move in one direction, either this one or the other one, or up and down, and I'm controlling that way the direction of my my texture. You can also rotate, so you can see that I'm rotating about my Z-axis of my gumball, and that's the result that I get. All right, so maybe I'm gonna Control Z to remove the rotate. All right, so select again your mapping widget, and of course you've got the handles of your gumball. These ones are for the scaling, so you can do a non-uniform scale or a 1D scale, and you can scale in one direction like that. So select one, left click and select one of these handles, and you can scale it in the 3 axis, obviously. All right, that's another thing you can do. All right, so you've got the rotation, you've got the translation, and you've got the rotation for your textures. And if you press shift and you select either one of these 3 handles for the scale, well, I'm doing a 3D scale basically. And that's the way I would resize my texture typically. I like to use the gumball. Most of the time I would use the gumball. All right, that's the way I like to do to orient and size my textures. And of course, in the menu here, in this menu here, once you've applied either one of these texture maps, you're going to see this menu being activated, and you can also control the size here manually, or the rotation or the position in these menus. Okay, and you can also change the scale by playing with the UVW repeat. But like I said, I prefer personally using the gumball. It's very dynamic, very intuitive, and very fast. So once you've done that, you can hide the mapping. You can see that little highlighted box. If I deselect it, it's still here. So I just need to select my mapping widget, and I'm going to click on hide mapping, which is right next to the show mapping, obviously. And I'm just going to click on that, and then that's it. All right. So once I've done that, you can see that with the HDRI and all that, I'm supposed to see some reflection. It's kind of flat looking. So go back to the material icon. All right next to the texture mapping. So go back here, and you can play with the gloss. So I'm going to bring it up here. You can play with the reflectivity, and you can see already the effect it has. And you also have the transparency, but I'm not going to play with the transparency. It's not a glass material that I'm trying to create. So maybe the reflectivity is a bit too high. I just want to make it very, very small amount of reflectivity. So let me bring it down to, I don't know, 5% maybe, I don't know, something like that. All right, so there you have it. And now I'm just going to right click on the light bulb to bring back all my other geometries, and there's your texture mapping applied, the carbon fiber. So obviously the JPEG, I'm going to make it available for you guys. That's for sure. I'm going to select this geometry, and I'm going to create a new material. So it's the same principle. So I'm just going to go to my material icon where it says use layer. I'm just going to unscroll the menu, and I have a plastic dark gray that is already existing, so I'm just going to click on that. It's going to share the same material, basically the dark gray, as this one for my legs here. Okay, so it's the same material. So I've done that. So I want to make it more discreet, you see. So that's it. So do that for the texture mapping for the seat bucket, and I'll see you for the armrest this next time. All right, thank you.